Welcome in, guys, to Rover Sports. This is our second mock draft edition of the show, and I'm so excited to be joined by the entertainer, by Jetscentral, my two great YouTube buddies. The Mount Rushmore of my friends on YouTube are these two guys right here, and I'm excited to do the second edition of the mock draft, especially after the Combine. How are you guys this morning?
I'm thrilled to be here, man. I loved doing this last time. It was on my channel. We're going to do this one on your channel. We'll do one more on JC's channel before the draft starts. And I just love doing these. It's a great simulation. You get to pick the brains of other YouTubers and figure out what – and it works out differently than the mock drafts that you make, because in your mock draft, you control everything. In this mock draft, you guys get to control some of the picks, so it makes it more interesting.
Yeah, man. And I'm doing good. Mock draft, there's nothing better than NFL offseason with mock drafts, right? I feel like I could just spend the whole entire day, just stay up up to late hours of the night, just watching mock drafts, reading up on mock drafts, all these different scenarios. It's awesome, and I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm the same way as well. And there's so many different scenarios, and you don't know what's really going to happen. And everybody, picks and chooses. And I'm always going to watch a mock draft, even if it's crazy or whatever, or even if it's biased. But we decided that we're going to go different in the draft order. So now we got Chris the entertainer. He is going to be the first guy going on on our mock draft, as I just changed my microphone. And Chris, you're the first pick, so go ahead.
Okay, so what a mock draft is about who you think the team will take, not who you would take. If I was taking this pick, I would not even think about taking Kyler Murray. I think it's ridiculous, especially being that the general manager last year traded up to acquire Josh Rosen. Now that same general manager hired a coach the very next year that doesn't want Josh Rosen as his quarterback. But all that being said, I've now bought into the hoopla. I've bought into all the rumors that everyone is saying that Arizona is going to go ahead and trade Josh Rosen, the same guy they traded up for last year, and draft Kyler Murray, which I think is so ridiculous. But being that it's about predicting what's going to happen, and I'm going to have Kyler Murray going first.
Yeah, all right, so Kyler's off the board.
Well, I do if you're Cliff Kingsbury, though, you're starting a new culture from scratch. I think you do have to get the quarterback that you're the most comfortable with. You know Kyler Murray. You know he's from Texas. You know his agent.
I get it all, as I said, and we're going to get to the next pick. But as I said, I completely understand it from Cliff Kingsbury's point of view. The general manager, I think it's ridiculous.
But the general manager is succumbed to Cliff Kingsbury. He would have been fired.
But he shouldn't have hired him.
Well, yeah, exactly. And the thing is that if the pick here is Kyler Murray, Steve Keim is just admitting that he's the worst general manager in football because he doesn't know how to evaluate.
Right now, and by the way, Steve Keim made the playoffs with Arizona. He had a lot of success with David Johnson from Northern Iowa, with Fitzgerald, keeping him around. I mean, the Cardinals made the NFC Championship just a couple of years ago. You can't say that for a lot of teams.
But that was with Bruce Arians.
The fact is, last year, Steve Wilkes wanted a quarterback. They clearly didn't want Josh Rosen last year. That was kind of
they did want him because they
traded up
5 spots.
But he was the last quarterback selected, and that was they were forced to take him at number 10. He was the last guy selected at number 10. I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think that they're heading into a new future now. It's a complete rebuild. I'm completely on board with them doing this.
All right. Well,
if you're Steve Keim, do you want to get fired? I mean, it's your team. So I mean, it's Cliff Kingsbury's show. So I don't mind it at all.
Who's got pick number 2?
I do, and I have the 49ers going with Nick Bosa. I'm still sold on Quinnen Williams being the best player in the draft, but right now, if you're the 49ers on the defensive line, you invested 3 first-round picks on guys like DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, and Solomon Thomas. Go get a true edge rusher in that 4-3 system. Nick Bosa comes in the first day. He walks into the Niners locker room. He's the best edge rusher on the team. He finally gives the 49ers that true threat on the outside. And he does have some red flags like injuries and whatnot, but all in all, the 49ers are sitting there at 2 with the luxury of going with Bosa, Williams, or Josh Allen, with the selection of Kyler Murray, obviously. But I'm going with Nick Bosa.
It's a good pick there.
No, I think that's a logical pick because you're also playing in the 4-3 defense, so you don't want a linebacker. You want a true edge guy. I think Nick Bosa is a lock at this stage. But I'm the New York Jets, and I'm going with a complete and total lock. I'm going with a player that is drawing comparisons to Aaron Donald, a guy that's pretty much seems like he's not going to fail, a guy that loves the game of football. And I'm going with Quinnen Williams. I think that this guy is my number one guy. Just the way he can get to the passer, the array of pass rushing moves. I'm not sold on Leonard Williams. You have to take the best player available. You have to start building a defense. And this guy's potential is pretty much incredible, but his floor is also very low. You have to take Quinnen Williams.
It's a good pick. Part of me thinks the Jets would potentially take Josh Allen there because they desperately need a pass rusher. But I completely agree with you that Quinnen Williams is the best player in this draft. So you can't really go wrong there with the Jets, whether you go Williams or Allen, in my opinion.
I think Allen's more of a risk, though. I mean, he had
I agree with that.
Right, yeah.
And Quinnen Williams is a pass rusher. This guy's expected to get 13 sacks a year. So
yeah, and I'll say this too: if you're the New York Jets, the Niners, the Raiders, the Buccaneers, any of the teams outside of the Cardinals in the top 5, you were just hoping that Kyler Murray's the first pick because then all of a sudden it just slots everybody down.
As a Giants fan, I'm praying he is.
Right. Yeah. So everybody's hoping that the Cardinals are taking Murray just so it could just push everybody down like a notch.
Yeah, and it looks like it will happen, and that brings me to number 4. The Raiders, to me, in this situation, unless they're trading down, which we're not going to simulate in this draft, it's got to be Josh Allen. He replaces Khalil Mack as that edge rusher. It's a perfect fit, guy that you can build around for years. I think it's a slam dunk with the Raiders at 4 if he's there.
I love that too. A linebacker.
Yeah, it's Khalil Mack's replacement.
The Raiders couldn't get after the passer last season at all, so it's a great pick.
I will say this, though, Entertainer, because we are, in charge of sharing news on the show. I know the Raiders seem like they're interested in Kyler Murray. I think that that's a smokescreen. But the fact is they are shopping Derek Carr. So it is possible if Jacksonville wanted Carr that there could be a Foles-Carr trade. I've been hearing that. I've also been hearing that Carr isn't that safe in Oakland. But if they're bringing in Antonio Brown, you should stick with Derek Carr as your quarterback. But what do you guys think is the possibility Oakland takes a Drew Lock maybe later in the first round or here at 4? What do you guys think?
To be honest with you, I just feel like it's a little too they're a little bit too low for Drew Lock. I don't think he's going to fall that far.
And a little too high. Yeah, at the beginning.
Yeah, a little too high.
Yeah.
I think if you're the Raiders, you stand pat. If you make the trade for AB, great. You have a ton of cap space. You could pay him. And then, if Derek Carr has another weird season, then you could just move on from him next season. Hopefully going to Vegas and picking maybe a Herbert, a Tua, Patterson. I don't know, but moving on.
From's another one.
I think that they might be interested in Locke because they've been very quiet about him and they had him at the Senior Bowl. But Josh Allen is a safer pick. I do think Josh Allen's going to be a great player. You need another linebacker for Paul Gunther in the defense. So I love the pick for the Raiders, though.
Yeah, so moving on, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this one's tough, man. I feel like every single time I'm looking at mock drafts or I'm doing a mock draft, the Bucs are always – and there's a few other teams as well, like the Broncos and stuff, but the Bucs are always really hard for me to predict. Because they have a lot of solid players, but at the same time they have a lot of needs. But I guess in this case, I'm just going to go with Jawan Taylor, the left tackle from Florida.
Can't go wrong there. Good safe pick.
You have to trade back here with Denver. You have to trade with the Redskins. This is a perfect place to trade back. I think this is the cutoff of the draft right here.
Definitely a trade back scenario.
But you have to hope that a team is willing to come up. And if you're the Bucs sitting there on draft day and the phone's not ringing, you have to pick a player. So go get the left tackle out of Florida. You're going to be plugging him in. Buccaneers need a tackle desperately. You have a whole new coaching staff coming in the building. Yeah, you do need corners. You do need safeties, but I feel like you could fill those needs through free agency. I mean, you got guys like Landon Collins, Tyrann Mathieu. And then with cornerbacks, you could find a corner, high pick in the second round, just like they did last year with Carlton Davis. So if you're the Buccaneers, go fill a need, go get a good player in Taylor. They're just in a weird spot. They're just kind of between a rock and a hard place.
It's not a good pick. I don't think they just paid Donovan Smith like the other day. They're paying him $41 million over 3 years. So this guy's going to be a right tackle. I think you should go get DeAndre Baker. I think Jetscentral, we are thinking what they are going to do, but if we were in charge, I think we would look at DeAndre Baker here. I think we'd like that player more for Tampa.
Yeah, it all depends, like, what you value more. Do you value going after just a specific need, or should you going after the best player available?
Too small.
Me personally, if I was Tampa Bay, I don't know if it would be Baker, but I agree with Spencer in the sense that I'd be looking on the defensive side of the ball before offense. But you can't really go wrong with Juwan Taylor here. He's been rising up draft charts. He had a great combine. Scouts have said that he can – a lot of people thought originally he could only play the guard. They've been impressed with his athleticism. They think he can move out and play the tackle. He's probably the best rated offensive lineman in the draft at this point. So it's certainly not a bad pick. I would possibly think defense, but it's not a bad pick at all.
I'll say this real quick just before we move on to the Giants pick. The Bucs, if Josh Allen's on the board, the card needs to be turned in within the first 10 seconds. Okay,
yes.
Josh Allen's the perfect fit for Todd Bowles.
Yes, and we're going to get to number 6, the New York Giants. Spencer, you're up.
Yeah, well, this is what I think that the New York Giants are going to do. I think they're going to take Dwayne Haskins at number 6. If Dwayne Haskins is still there at number 6, the Giants are going to get a quarterback for the future. Now, I don't necessarily like this pick because I like the quarterbacks next year. I'd want a Devon White in this situation. I just want to get solid players for the rebuild. And the Giants are in a weird spot with not signing Landon Collins. Their defense is worse than the Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. So I would trade for Josh Rosen. I would look at other options before this, but I think the Giants are going to go Haskins here.
Yeah, Josh Rosen is certainly – I know JC really likes Josh. I'm not the biggest Josh Rosen fan, but now that Josh Rosen has become available and Arizona's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, if the right deal presents itself, I'd be completely for Josh Rosen. If it was, say, 2 second-round picks, something like that, I'd be for going out and getting a Josh Rosen so you have the flexibility to take a Devon White or to take whoever it is, your top defensive player with that pick. Josh Rosen would make a lot of sense. I wouldn't give up the 6th pick for him, though.
I think White is clearly the pick. I mean, if the Giants were going to go defense, like Gary is too risky for me at this pick. But, yeah, go ahead, JC, about Josh Rosen.
No, I was going to say for the Giants, if Rosen is available, you've got to try to make an effort to go get this guy. Rosen's a better Haskins, right? You go watch the tape at UCLA. This guy was phenomenal. I mean, yeah, he does have some weak spots, and he's not like
you give up
today's league.
You'd give up the 6th pick for him?
I personally would give that up, if that's what it came down to, I would give up the 6th pick. Mm-hmm. But I think if you're the New York Giants, you could say, hey, I'll give you our first pick in the 2nd round, which is going to be whatever, a top 6 pick in the 2nd round. I have a feeling the Cardinals would do that because the offers start low, then they kind of build up.
In that scenario, I think the Giants have to do it. As much as I'm not a huge Rosen guy, but in that scenario, I think you have to do it. You're getting a 1st-round talent for a 2nd-round price and having the ability
sorry to cut you off,
yeah.
But look at it like from like this point of view. Last season, they were thinking about taking Rosen at spot number 2. They said, no, screw it, we'll take Barkley. Now you can get Rosen and Barkley, the guys that you both thought of were, that you guys should have taken at 2, but now you're only giving up a 2nd overall and a 6th overall.
Yeah, the one thing I'm going to say about Rosen is the reason why Entertainer is obviously worried about Rosen is he views Haskins as a much safer personality fit with the New York Giants. And Josh Rosen, the fact that Kurt Warner said he's going for a 3rd rounder, I think it is a lot to do with Josh Rosen in terms of half of his teammates not liking him. And by the way, at Ohio State, Haskins won big. At UCLA, Rosen would only win 7 or 8 games. Rosen gets hurt. Haskins is more of a winner. That's why Entertainer
and in New York,
that Haskins is bringing.
In New York, I think that's more of a factor than anywhere else because you have to deal with the huge media scrutiny. I said that on draft night last year. I wasn't extremely confident of how Rosen would handle the New York spotlight. That is what I worry about most. It's not his talent. But
I will say this though quickly, that Ohio State has every advantage over UCLA. Better O-line, better defense, better coaching staff, whatever.
Better
system. Like if you took Rosen, you put him in this year's draft class, you put him on Ohio State. I'm pretty solid that he'd be the quarterback number 1 with similar or better numbers than Haskins.
You're probably right. But let's get moving on.
And before we go to the next pick, I think Rosen actually would handle a big city well. I think he's more of a big city guy. I mean, he's from California, from LA. He's very, very bright kid. He's just, I mean, he's very he's a little polarizing. He's very open-minded, I guess, for a lot of things. But yeah, let's go on to the next pick.
All right, number 7 pick. I had this guy going to Jacksonville in my mock draft. I haven't seen a lot of mocks doing this. I think it makes complete sense, especially now that we all assume Nick Foles is going to be their quarterback. They need a weapon. DK Metcalf blew it away at the combine. I love the pick here for Jacksonville. I got DK Metcalf going 7 to Jacksonville. I think they're going to get their hands on the hottest receiver in the draft right now. Now, I know a lot of people say he struggles with route running, but the combine that guy had, 1.9% body fat. He ran the most ridiculous 40 time for a guy his size. I think he's going to blow them away with what he did at the combine, and I think he's going to go in there and be their number 1 receiver.
If you're Nick Foles, you need a Hakeem Nicks jump ball guy. I mean, this guy is a jump ball guy, and I completely agree. I mean, I know, JC, you had Hawkinson going, but I think the wide receiver is more important than the tight end. I really do. I love this pick for Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, the way I was kind of thinking of Hawkinson was John DeFilippo coming from Philly, using Zach Ertz and Trey Burton. You know, you got to go get Jacksonville a tight end. They let ASJ walk. Mercedes Lewis isn't obviously there anymore, and they have nobody at tight end. So I was thinking Hawkinson, one of the better tight end prospects to come out in the last few years. But I like Metcalf. I mean, you can't go wrong with this pick because you're going to be shoring up the quarterback position. All of a sudden, you have a free first-round pick to play with to go fill a need or whatever.
Right.
But moving on, we got the Detroit Lions. I'm selecting Rashawn Gary, the defensive end from Michigan. I look at the Lions right now with Matt Patricia. You can take Gary, a versatile player who's powerful, he's fast, he's athletic as hell. He might not have all the production, but you could plug him in on the end. You could plug him in just throughout the defensive line, 4-3, 3-4, versatile. He could almost be that Trey Flowers to Matt Patricia in Detroit like he was in New England. He played college ball at Michigan. You could be losing out on Zeke Ansah as well. Pretty decent pass rusher. You need somebody to kind of replace that. I look at Gary. He's available at pick number 8. I mean, a lot of people have Gary going top 5. I personally not 100% sold on Gary, but if you're getting him at 8, I would probably take him.
Yeah, it's actually funny you picked Gary. That's exactly what I had in my mock going to Detroit, and I think he fits Detroit perfectly. I got scrutinized for it, actually. A lot of people said that was too early.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. But I think, with Gary, I think it's more about potential than production. He didn't put up the stats in college, but the guy clearly has a lot of talent. He was the number 1 player coming out of high school in 2016. Very versatile. I like him a lot for this defense. I think he's a perfect fit.
Yeah, I think there's a fear that he could be like Robert Nkemdiche, like another high recruit that has a ton of potential but just didn't really do much at the college level.
Well, when you look at the other pass rusher, it's Sweat. That's pretty much in this category. So I'm gonna. Interestingly enough, I think there's one guy on this board that I'm very high on from a personality standpoint and from a player standpoint, and I'm next with Buffalo.
Yes.
Even though they selected Tremaine Edmonds next year, I'm going to make an argument for Devon White because Lorenzo Alexander's 35 years old, and this would be a perfect spot for Buffalo to trade back. I think that Dillard is an offensive tackle that they could go after here. There's no good wide receivers. They need offensive linemen, but I would almost think Devon White here would almost be a talented player for this defense. What do you guys think about that?
I love Devon White, but I think Buffalo – I don't think it's a good fit with Buffalo, to be completely honest. I think Buffalo needs an offensive lineman here. They're desperate need of an offensive lineman to support their quarterback who got killed last year. I don't know which offensive lineman I would go here. I had Jawan Taylor in my mock, but he's off the board already.
Yeah, I don't like Taylor that much.
I'd be looking at a Dillard, like you said. I think a Dillard, maybe a Jonah Williams, but probably Dillard if I'm Buffalo there. But I love Devon White, so I'm not going to say it's a bad pick. I think he's one of the top 3 or 4 players in the
I would look to trade back. Go ahead, JC. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, just system fit. I don't necessarily know if he could play that true middle linebacker every down. You know what I mean, for Buffalo?
Well, isn't Edmonds going to kind of be their guy in the middle?
Well, Edmonds is versatile. I mean, you could really do whatever you want with Edmonds. I think Edmonds is more of an outside linebacker.
This is a perfect place to trade back because I think I'm going to change it to Andre Dillard then, but I think they could trade.
I think that's the right pick. That's what I would do with everything.
Or, if Metcalf's on the board, that's another.
Yeah,
but he's not. But if he is, they're taking Metcalf.
No, but we'll do Andre Dillard then. I think he's a good tackle. I like him better than any of the other guys right now on the board. So
okay, all right. I'm up at number 10. I am going to take who I think is probably the best available. I don't know. I'm not in love with him because he struggles with tackling. He reminds me a little bit of Eli Apple, but I think Denver could certainly use some help in that secondary. Had a great combine. He ran a great 40. Size and speed, good combination at the corner. He's 6'2", 185. Greedy Williams, number 10 to Denver Broncos. I think that's the right pick there for them in this situation.
Yeah, it's a solid pick. Denver's another one of those weird teams where they have like some needs, but like they're just pegged in a weird spot in the draft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go back again. Like this is a great trade back spot, but I like Baker a ton more than Greedy Williams.
Then it's just a preference of corner, but you agree corner here. Yeah.
I think Greedy is soft. I don't like him at all, really.
I don't love him. I just think if I'm guessing who the number one corner will be, I think it'll be Greedy Williams.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. I actually agree with both of you guys on that statement. But next up, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. Looking at the draft board, who's off the board, I'm going to peg in Devon White, the linebacker. I mean, they need a linebacker. They need a leader. Devon White is both, he fills both of those roles. You got a new head coach in Zach Taylor coming in, new defensive coordinator. You have to get the guy in the building that's going to rally the troops, that's going to keep everybody together during hard times. The division that you play in is pretty tough. Browns on the uprise, Ravens on the uprise, Steelers neutral, but they're still a pretty solid team. You might be in store for a lot of losses this season. Go get a proven leader, a proven beast, Devon White from LSU.
Love that pick for them.
Yeah.
Love that pick for them.
Makes my skin crawl because I want to see him go earlier. I don't want him to go to the Bengals because that's kind of like, you know what I mean? That's kind of like a cliche kind of pick that everybody has, but yeah, I understand it, obviously.
Yeah, it just makes a lot of sense.
Go ahead, Spence.
Yeah, Spence, you're up.
I'm 12.
Yep.
Green Bay. All right, we're number 12. We're the Green Bay Packers. Boy, I don't like this player again, but we're doing like kind of a mock draft situation. This is an anti-Green Bay pick because Green Bay usually doesn't go with athletes. They usually go with guys that are more like 4-year guys. And this is Montez Sweat transferred out of Michigan State. So people have questions about his character, but I think it's between Burns and Sweat. I'm going to go Montez Sweat because of the combine. He can't go much later. So
that's who I would have. I had Sweat going 11, but that's who I would have in this situation for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually mocked Sweat to the Packers in my mock. I took some heat from it by some.
What did people say?
They said that Sweat is too thin-framed for Green Bay, and he's not like a traditional player that they would take and stuff like that. But
but who are they going to take?
Well, you're going a lot of different directions.
They could take Farrell, I was going to say. I think he's probably more in line with what they'd want, but I like Sweat more.
This is a 3-4. Clay Matthews is not he's not a defensive end. Come on.
Yeah, and plus he's actually a free agent too. So, I mean, really, Devon White would make a lot of – and plus, like, you have a new head coach coming in, Matt LaFleur. That wasn't really expected either. So, Green Bay's in a little bit of, like, an identity shift.
They are.
All right, Miami's up. I'm up, number 13. This is a tough pick for me here.
Do it.
Ooh.
Come on, don't do it. Go defense.
Do it.
No, you're rebuilding completely. You don't just
name a quarterback on the Dolphins roster.
No quarterback. You got to go defense. You got to build for next year's draft.
I'm taking Drew Lock. I'm taking Drew Lock to Miami. I was leaning between two or three defensive players, but Drew Lock they need a quarterback. And it's good value here at 13. So I'm not in love with Drew Lock. I think he could be good. He could be bad. I'm up in the air on him. But I think it's good value at 13. I don't know if it's great value, but I think it's the right spot for him.
Probably with the Dolphins. Drew Lock.
Yeah, but you know what? I think the Dolphins would – I think in this situation, the Dolphins would take him. So I'm putting him to the Dolphins.
Yeah, fair enough. I like that pick. Next up, we got the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going Ed Oliver, the defensive tackle from Houston. I look at this Falcons 4-3 defense. You have first-round pick in Vic Beasley, first-round pick on with Tack McKinley on the opposite side. You just tagged Grady Jarrett. you have to stop the run some way, somehow. That's Ed Oliver's strength. He doesn't really have a lot of size, and his measurables are kind of questionable, but he has a ton of power. Stop the run, he can cause pressure up the middle. Team him right next to Grady Jarrett, and you can have a lot of success with him. It's a weird case study. This guy could either be, one of those guys when it's, when we look back in 3 years and just say, like, why wasn't Ed Oliver the first overall pick? And then you can make the argument that, some guys could be saying, like, why is he even a first-round pick? He's just that boom or bust. But I think perfectly right in the middle of the first round. He fills a need. Pretty solid player, high upside. I'm going.
I love that pick. I love that pick.
No, I do. I like it. But I don't know if I love it.
Mm-hmm. Little too sketchy.
Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think he's gonna pan out that well. I'm a little worried.
Go ahead, Spence.
I'm the Redskins.
Yeah.
I'm not going Daniel Jones. I'm not.
I wouldn't.
I'll tell you what, the Redskins, I'm tired of the Redskins drafting defense. I really am. Daron Payne, the freaking guy from Alabama, Jonathan Allen. It's all Alabama defense, okay? Like a secondary guy wouldn't be a terrible pick, but I'm changing this Redskins identity completely. I'm looking at this would be a perfect place to trade for Josh Rosen. But guess what? Your wide receivers in Washington, you have Josh Doxson, who's very good. Jamison Crowder and Paul Richardson, you need a number one. It's time for speed. It's time for Hollywood Brown. Marquise Hollywood Brown here. I would love the pick for the Redskins.
That's a good pick. I was going to take him next with Carolina. Thought they could, even though they drafted a wide receiver last year. I either was thinking him going to Carolina or Tennessee. But that's a good pick. So now I'm up. Now I got to think a little bit. Carolina. I'm going to take – did Sweat won already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take Brian Burns to Carolina.
Okay.
I'm going to take Brian Burns. Yeah, I think he's the best available player here. I'll take Burns. I had a good 40 time, run about a 4.5, had a good combine. I'll take Burns.
Now, you could go offensive tackle.
You could.
Like
you definitely could. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Yep. So I'm up with the Cleveland Browns. I'm going Jonah Williams. This is a guy who is pretty versatile. Could play left tackle, right tackle, guard, whatever. The feeling is around the league is that he is going to be playing guard because of his arm length. I'm not really buying into that too much. I think it's a little bit overrated. But with Zeitler on the move, Kevin Zeitler on the move, he could come in and fill that role immediately. He gives the Browns versatility on the offensive line. True winner at Alabama. Give me Jonah Williams for the Browns.
Good pick.
I like it. It's solid and versatility.
It's a classic Dorsey pick.
Yeah, good pick there. Spence, go ahead.
All right. So I'm looking at Minnesota Vikings right here.
Yep.
And I could go tackle.
You
they
have
always
to.
try to fix their offensive line. But believe it or not, Anthony Barr's a free agent. They're probably not going to re-sign him. Let's go with a pick that JC really likes. Let's go with Devin Bush, who had a great
Yeah. Devin Bush is a beast.
Wow.
I like Devin Bush.
You have Ben Gideon, who's not even that good either. I mean,
that's a shocker. That's a shocker. Because that's the one team I have pegged for sure taking an offensive lineman, them and the Texans. But I do like Devin Bush. Had a great run like a 4.44, something like that. That brings me to Tennessee. So now there's already two wide receivers off the board. They certainly could use one, but I think it's a reach at this point. So I'm not going to go wide receiver. I'm going to go with – oh, God. I'm going to – I know it's a reach and he had a bad combine, but I'm going to go with who I had in mind. I'm going to go with Polite out of Florida to Tennessee. I'm going to go with Polite.
How come?
I just like his upside. I like his upside out of Florida. I know he didn't have a good combine. I think he's the best available player. I know that I know you could go. There's a lot of good players here. Adderley, Baker, Murphy. I had going to Cleveland in mind, the cornerback.
Why don't you take your guy? Take your guy.
Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm taking my
why
guy.
Why doesn't he take Paris Campbell?
I like Paris Campbell a lot, and I would take Paris Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
we're polite. We're stamping it in.
I'm stamping it in. I would take Paris Campbell.
All right, go ahead. I love this. Go ahead.
So it's light. You're sticking with light.
Yeah, he's sticking with light. It's your turn.
All right. Pittsburgh Steelers, DeAndre Baker, slam dunk pick.
Good pick.
Spot number 20. I mean, Joe Hayden, old, not reliable. Who else? Artie Burns, former first-round pick, athletic, yes, but just kind of been a disappointment. Go get a proven winner from Georgia, a versatile guy who's a little bit selfish but a little bit arrogant as well. But I think that's what the Steelers need on the defense side of the football to kind of combat Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson and whatnot. Go get DeAndre Baker for Pittsburgh.
That to me is the slam dunk pick. Exactly what I had Pittsburgh taking. They could use a cornerback. I love that pick.
They always could. They always could, right?
Yeah, I love that pick.
I like Baker a lot. I think that Baker could be like a Jalen Ramsey. I think DeAndre Baker could literally be like a top 5 cornerback in the NFL. Like, I think he's going to be unbelievable at this level. He's so confident. He's from Miami, Liberty City. So, hell of a pick. All right, I'm Seattle.
Yeah.
Slam dunk pick here, where it's mocked a lot. Let's go with the best safety, and you're getting him at a good value because he did not work out at the combine at all, which was your advantage. Deontay Thompson, Alabama, for Seattle.
Ooh, I had Adderley, but either one. I think a safety here is the right pick for Seattle.
I think Thompson's better. I love Thompson. He had one bad game against Clemson. But
no, they're both. You can't go wrong with either one, in my opinion. I like both of them. So
I think Thompson's a lot better. So I'm going Thompson. Yes.
He's a lot better than Adderley.
I just like Thompson.
I like Adderley. I really do.
It's not that I don't like Adderley, but
Adderley's a ball hawk. But
yeah, he's my type of player. I love that type of safety.
Yeah.
And plus, I mean, Seahawks losing Earl Thomas. Makes sense.
I think it's the right fit for a safety. And I'm up at 22, and I'm going to take the reach, the guy that I had going to Baltimore. I think they will take a receiver in this spot, even with 2 off the board. And I'm going to take the guy I like. I know it's a reach. I know he's ranked 5th or 6th on most people's boards. I like Paris Campbell. I'm going to take Baltimore taking Paris Campbell. I think he's going to be a great receiver in the NFL. I like him a lot. Explosive, great after the catch, had a great combine. He was the fastest wide receiver, had a 40-inch vertical leap. Paris Campbell's my guy to Baltimore, 22.
Paris Campbell, Ohio State, nice.
Great pick.
All right, yeah, that's me on the clock. All right, Houston Texans, TJ Hawkinson, tight end, Iowa, one of the best players in this draft that's fell to all the way to late first round. Yes, you have to protect Deshaun Watson, but instead of physically protecting him with an offensive line, you could also protect him by giving him a security blanket. You could just check it down to him, little curl routes. Hawkinson to the Texans.
It's good value.
I'm not picking the 4th best offensive lineman when I have the number 1 tight end on the board.
Offensive lineman going there as well. It's kind of like Minnesota.
They're in no man's land. You can't pick the 4th or 5th best O lineman.
They got to improve their O-line, though. I mean, they gave up the most sacks in football.
But you can fill those needs through free agency. I mean, what are the chances that that like the 5th best offensive lineman is going to be better than like NFL free agents when you have the number 1 tight end on the board?
I'm not going to knock you for it. Hawkinson could be a good blocker too. So and you're getting good value. Hawkinson's being mocked a little higher than that in most people's mocks. So it's good value.
If you get open, you're also protecting Watson because he's getting the football out of his hands.
Yeah, it's another weapon too. They could certainly use another weapon there opposite, obviously, Hopkins. So it's a good pick. Fuller, him, and Hopkins, I'd be a nasty trio there. But, Spencer, go ahead.
I'm Oakland.
You are.
I am not. I am going, ironically, with a guy that we just happened to talk about. And I do like this player a lot. And I think that this guy's a great leader for the defense. I'm going Nasir Adderley, the small school Delaware kid. I'm going safety for Oakland. I don't really want Josh Jacobs. I think Jacobs is actually kind of turning out to be a little bit of a reach because of how weak the class is. The wide receivers, A.J. Brown is going to be a very good player, and I could mock him next, but he's a little bit of a loud personality. I'm going with Nasir Adderley for sure here.
Very good pick.
Very good pick. Yeah, Adderley's probably, he's definitely one of my top 3 favorite, like just my personal favorite players. Not saying he's the top 3 best player, but just like guys I root for, just the guys I just love their game. Love Adderley.
Yeah, I'm a big Adderley guy myself. I'm hoping the Giants trade up for him at the end of the first, to be honest. And now the Eagles are up. In my mock, I had the Eagles taking Josh Jacobs. But Starting to change my mind a little bit because the Eagles rarely take running backs ever in the first round. They could use a receiver, but there's already 3 off the board. They could look at certainly an Hakeem Butler. There's a few others they could look at here. But there's a corner that I really like that's still on the board. They're losing a corner to free agency. So I am going to take Byron Murphy to the Eagles at 25.
Fair enough.
All right. I like that. Yeah, but here's the thing why I think the Eagles won't take it is because would you admit that Sidney Jones has kind of been a failure from Washington?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's a complete – it's not like this guy is just bottom of the barrel.
But he's not starting. He's hurt, and he's kind of slim and doesn't play that well.
So I don't
think that the Eagles are going to take Washington guys again.
So, but it's possible.
Yeah. I mean, I like –
not the same person. You can make that argument with Sanchez and Darnold. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I like Byron Murphy. I think the Eagles could certainly use a playmaker. Josh Jacobs makes a ton of sense here. I just, knowing their history, I don't think they'll take a running back in the first round. I think he is the guy I would probably take. But I like Byron Murphy a lot, and I think he does fit a need there. So I'm going to take Byron Murphy.
Yeah, so I'm up right now with the Colts, and there's actually a ton of good players still on the board. I'm going to go Jeffrey Simmons.
No, I was thinking it for the Raiders.
Let's go, Jeffrey Simmons. The Colts, Matt Eberflus on defense, has shown that he's a mastermind, and he's gotten the most out of his talent. Jeff Simmons is one of the most talented players in this draft, and he's going to be going to this Colts team with he's going to not only just be an upgrade at the position. Spencer, you all right, man?
It's not. I doubt it's going to happen for several reasons because this guy's missing next year completely. You're getting nothing for next year. This is your time for the Colts to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, but the Colts could also look at it all right, we already got to the playoffs. We advanced in the playoffs without him.
And they have $100 million in cap space.
I doubt that Indy's going
to. We can take a risk. We can take a flyer in the first round.
Well, this guy had the incident.
I actually am going to agree with JC. If there is any team, I don't have Jeffrey Simmons going in my first round, but if there is any team that can do it, they are certainly one of the top 2 or 3 teams that I think are capable of doing it with the amount of cap space they have.
Yeah, because they have that luxury. Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, I think it's a great pick, obviously, but Simmons, you're getting him for next year. I think Oakland would have been a better place for the guy. And, they're going to look back at the domestic violence thing, or they're going to look back at the violence thing. I don't know if they're going to take him. But, yeah, this is our mock draft. So I kind of see – I think it's a decent pick.
Go ahead, Spence, 27.
All right, I'm Oakland. I'm going with a leader. I'm going with a guy who's a high second-round pick, and I'm going with a guy that I absolutely love. He kind of reminds me of J.J. Watt's brother, T.J. Watt. I'm going with Chase Winovich right here.
Ooh.
Off the edge, baby. Deep.
Wow.
All right.
Leader.
Wow. All right. Let me see who's still on my board here. Did not see that one coming.
JC, you like that pick, don't you?
I do like it because Oakland needs some leaders. They need building blocks and foundations on defense.
And you think Winovich is big, yes. Go ahead, Tanner.
There's a few guys still on my board that went before this guy, but I'm going to take the same guy I had the Chargers taken in my mock. They're a tough team to draft for because they really don't have holes. They're a very well-rounded roster. I'm going to take Mack Wilson, linebacker, middle linebacker, to the Chargers.
Good pick. It's a good pick. I had Devin Bush going to the Chargers in my mock draft, but Mack Wilson, really, really solid player, leader, winner. Good pick. All right, yeah. So I'm up. Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of good players. A lot of good players on the board. Give me Ja'Kai Polite.
No, I took him already.
Did you really? Where?
19.
To
Tennessee.
Okay, yeah. Then give me Cleveland Farrell.
Wow, I forgot.
Switching over to a 4-3 defense.
He dropped far. My God.
Holy shit. I forgot about him.
Yeah, I forgot about him too.
Life. That's
Yeah.
life.
Farrell, hey, switching over from a 3-4 to a 4-3. Spagnolo, he wants his true edge rusher. Go get him in Farrell.
That's a great value in Farrell. Yeah, I honestly probably would have. I probably would have had him a team or two ago had I completely forgot about him. I missed him on my board. Yeah, it's
Well,
good pick.
Good
Great
thing
pick.
you're not a GM.
Yeah, good thing I'm not a GM. Spencer, you're up at 30.
Green Bay.
There's a ton of good players available, man. It's crazy.
I am going to go with a guy that I think is so I could go N'Keal Harry here at JC. I could go him for a big wide receiver. I'm tired of wide receivers though in Green Bay. You have the St. Brown kid that could make a huge leap. Let's go with a huge weapon. Let's go with a guy that is an ultimate game breaker. We don't want to see him on New England. Let's go Noah Fant for mine.
Yeah, good pick.
Yeah, I would have. I don't pick for New England, but that's where I thought he was going to end up going in this mock. Yeah, very good pick there. And now I'm up with the LA Rams, another team that's very hard to draft for, much like the Chargers. To me, those are the two most well-rounded teams in the sport. And I'm going to take Garrett Bradbury. No, Cody Ford, rather. Cody Ford. I'm going to take Cody Ford.
Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ford's a guy. He has nice size. I'm just not 100% sold on Ford. Not yet.
Yeah, I may like Bradbury more. I think Ford's going to be higher on most teams' boards. So
Yeah.
I'll take Ford.
All right, yeah. So I guess I'm up with the last pick with the New England Patriots. We got Daniel Jones on the board, but I'm not doing it. I'm going Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence from Clemson. The Patriots could not stop the run that well last season. I look at Dexter Lawrence. This guy is being mocked in the top 10, falls all the way to 32. You have to go best player available here. I'm not buying into the hype that Daniel Jones is a first-round talent. I'm not doing it. Lawrence is the pick for the Patriots at 32. I'll target a quarterback later. I'll sign Teddy Bridgewater on a one-year deal. Mm-hmm. I'm not picking Jones at 32.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And let's go over who we think dropped now to the second round real quick.
Good point.
I would like Samuel for the Patriots, but
Deebo Samuel, yeah, he's a good player.
But yeah, no, that's a good. I like Dexter Lawrence.
So now in the second round, Josh Jacobs is still available. Christian Wilkins is still available. Hakeem Butler is still available.
And N'Keal Harry.
N'Keal Harry's still available.
Reisner's
still available. Reisner's perfect for the Giants in round 2. That's what I'm hoping we get. You know, there's a couple others, but those are the guys.
Greg Little,
Daniel Jones,
Kajust.
Yeah, a lot. This second round, I think
Abram.
The more Abram's a good one. That's who I think fits well with the Giants too, because he's very similar to the guy they just lost. Almost identical.
Yeah, he's aggressive. I like that.
Yeah,
Smith.
But Irv Smith's a good tight end. But I mean, I'm as a Giants fan, when I look at the board for the second round, the more I'm leaning not signing Darrell Williams, because I think there's going to be a lot of pretty good offensive linemen there for the Giants to take with the 6th overall pick in the second round. I think it might make more sense to allocate the money that we have in free agency to go and get more defensive help, because I think they're going to get a good quality lineman in the second round.
Yeah, like
you guys are so lucky with your second round picks.
Well, that's right. You don't have one. You don't got one for 3 years or 2 years now, right?
Yeah.
But
we messed it up anyway, so what's the difference? But it still sucks. Not looking forward to it.
Yeah, when's the last time the Jets hit on a second round pick?
Actually, it was Marcus May, safety out of Florida, which is like 2 years ago. But outside of that, I mean, it's just been bust after bust, like Devin Smith and Hackenberg and all these different guys. Just like
a lot of quarterbacks.
Devin Smith didn't work out. I mean, he could have been a deep. Why didn't Devin Smith work out?
Just always injured, had no hands. I remember at the time I wanted who did I want? He was he had a weird last name. He had like 2 last names. He played at Missouri and Oklahoma.
He was not a wide receiver?
Yeah. It was
Dorial Green Beckham.
Green Beckham. That was the guy who I really wanted.
He didn't work out either, though, right?
Yeah, I know.
Where did he end up? Tennessee?
Philly.
Oh, Philly.
No, but he was with Tennessee.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Tennessee, yeah. Yeah, he had mental problems.
Mm-hmm.
But, I got to get to work soon. But
yes, you got to
love doing this. Always love doing this. Great job.
Fun mock today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the channel, man. I'm looking forward to doing more of these. We screwed up a little bit. We forgot about Calais and Farrell. Yeah, I had him going 13th in my mock. He fell all the way to 29, I think. But I guess that's what happens when you do these. But
there's going to be guys who fall. You can't help it.
Yeah, it could happen. I mean, we've seen so many players. Aaron Rodgers is a perfect example. I mean, we've seen so many players fall in first rounds that you don't expect. What?
People are going to fall.
Yeah, that's the draft. That's what happens.
Yeah, I mean, there was a few picks last season, like Edmonds to the Steelers, that just nobody saw coming. This guy was like being mocked as like a high third round guy. Steelers take him at like late first, so like there's always curveballs in the draft.
Yeah, 100%. But Spence, once again, thank you for having me on, man. I had a good time, man.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, Spencer, thanks so much, bro.
All right.